In the house where I grew up, we had a small blackboard on the wall next to the phone for recording messages and noting phone numbers. It was here that I stopped for a moment after tiptoeing down the stairs one morning really early. On it, I wrote, "Dear Mom, I am running away. Love, Ruthie." I was 8 years old at the time, and I was mad at everyone, at the whole world. The only thing for it was to leave. I headed across the field toward our neighbor's house, and after sitting under a tree for what seemed like eternity, but was probably only about 30 minutes, I returned home. This was the earliest incident in a long trail of journeys in search of inner peace, belonging, understanding, and connection. That morning, I was committed to the quest, but just a bit shaky on exactly how to realize it. The Reverend Sue Phillips was also a runaway. Here's her description of her journey. As a little girl, I ran away from home at least twice every summer, hurling myself out of the house with outrage at childhood oppressions, like being left out by my brother and his friends, or facing bad sportsmanship during a t-ball game. I'd hastily make a bologna and cheese sandwich, pack a napkin, a baseball, and whatever book I was reading, and charge out of the house full of 9-year-old indignation. I was never going back, ever. The problem was I never knew where to go. My little world extended only a few blocks in any direction. Narnia's secret wardrobe was hidden in a house a world away. The wrinkle in time I dreamed about was equally unreachable, tucked away in the books I loved. Those places weren't fiction to me. I could have told you all about the path Bilbo had taken from the Shire to Rivendell. But going out of my own front door in those steamy Midwestern summers, I didn't know where to go, much less how to get there. All I could think to do was run away. When I was a girl, leaving was journey enough to ease my anger and disappointment and my longing. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Whidbey Island. My name is Ruth Richards. We continue the journey today with the Reverend Dr. Emily Breaux. Reverend Breaux is a UU minister who serves as a chaplain for the Oregon Department of Corrections. She tells me that her biggest caper was convincing Vanderbilt University to grant her a PhD with a specialty in religion and personality. She says she was looking for both. In her spare time, she enjoys hanging out with her family and playing the banjo, although her family does not fully appreciate the elegance of the banjo. Reverend Breaux was last with us in November 2019, and we're really pleased to have her back with us today. Our own Reverend Emily Melcher, who serves in shared ministry with members of this congregation, will be here next Sunday with a sermon she's calling Keeping the Flame Alive. Please read the e-news, which arrives in your email box every Friday morning. Among other interesting news this week is a notice from the Greening Congregations Collaborative. Their 4th annual community conversation entitled Solidarity is based on the Pope's latest encyclical, Fratelli Tutti, Brothers and Sisters All. This community conversation takes place on 4 consecutive Monday afternoons and includes speakers from multiple faiths. Check out the details in the e-news. Okay, let's light the chalice. Our call to worship today is based on the words of the Reverend Rebecca Parker. Let us gather together, making a place of honesty where we commit to discover how to live among the ruins, how we might move among the ruins and find what can be saved. With our collective liberation in each of our hearts, Let us gather up those materials we need to build and rebuild beloved community in our midst. In gathering this morning, may we be strengthened for what lies ahead. Please join me now in saying our affirmation. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and service is its practice. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. I'd like to share with you an additional excerpt from Reverend Sue Phillips' essay, which follows her journey through spirituality, religion, and commitment, with the help of a deeper understanding of the meaning of covenant. Every journey, even an anger-fueled childhood escape, begins with a single step, spiritual journeys too. As Unitarian Universalists, we may take that first step on our own, but we don't have to find the way by ourselves. Our ancestors have cut a path and posted blazes on the trail. Their wilderness may have been different, but their hearts were not. We can still find the blazes they left for us, shining and flickering along the path. The path our ancestors laid for us is covenant. Covenant is the collection of sacred promises we make to ourselves, to the holy, and to each other on the journey of a faithful life. It is the explicit declaration of our deepest intentions. As powerful as those promises are, our ancestors knew that covenant is more than a thing, more than a noun. They knew that covenant is also a verb. The process of making, practicing, failing at, and remaking those promises. Our ancestors teach us that religious life thrives at the intersection of self, community, and spirit, and that the beauty and fullness of faithful lives emerge everywhere that these dimensions meet and walk together. If we each walk alone, charting our own course every which way, it is not possible to be religious people. We may be able to practice spirituality by ourselves, but it is by walking with others in service of our highest aspirations that personal spirituality transmutes into religious community. Religion, our religion, requires that we walk with others. The Whitby Veterans Resource Center walks with the others in our community who have served us with huge commitment and courage. Our dedicated offering this week is for them. The center assists veterans and their families with connecting to VA healthcare and benefit services and provides support groups and counseling. Our veterans, our community members, neighbors, and friends are in even greater need of connection to fend off isolation in these challenging times. The center is entirely dependent on contributions from individuals, local businesses, and local churches like our own. Other than modest expenditures for a bookkeeper and a part-time program coordinator, Whitby Veterans Resource Center is entirely a volunteer organization. Please support this vitally important program, which serves those who have made the ultimate commitment to serve us. And now from our hymn, Wake Now My Senses, an exhortation from verse 3. Wake now, compassion, and heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end.
I now have a reading from Thich Nhat Hanh, a short piece. It's called Our True Home is in the Present Moment. Our true home is in the present moment. To live in the present moment is a miracle. The miracle is not to walk on water. The miracle is to walk on the green earth in the present moment, to appreciate the peace and the beauty that are available now. Peace is all around us, in the world and in nature and within us. It's in our bodies, it's in our spirits. And once we learn to touch this peace, we will be healed and transformed. It's not a matter of faith. It's a matter of practice. We need only to find ways to bring our body and our mind back to the present moment so we can touch what is refreshing, healing, and wondrous.
Thank you, Emily. What an evocative image of a world we all long for. I'd like to widen out our time of joys and sorrows today and hold a kind of congregational one-word soapbox. Please enter into the chat box your one-word response to Thich Nhat Hanh's Our True Home is in the Present Moment, or your thoughts about veterans, or about running away, or about spirituality and religion. And if you have some personal news to share, please enter your story in the chat box as well. I'll read the words and writings for everyone, including those who might need a larger type size than the chat box offers. Let's create a spontaneous, chaotic cascades of words together. Here we go. Julianne writes a bit about the winding in and out the Alaska Highway fills my mind with serious doubt as to whether the dude who built this route was going to hell or coming out. My dad was one of the first to drive the old highway. I have driven and camped along it 3 times. Great American journey. Joan Green says love. Timothy Mack says growth. Julianne says something that isn't a word. Julianne, try that one again. Leslie says regenerative. Eileen says stop. Nick Fowler, settling into a new home. Janet Garrow, roots. Kate and Sim, my heart is heavy. My dear, dear friend Ted, my chosen brother, died unexpectedly on Friday. Julianne, oh, true. Okay, we were missing the U from before. Kate McGraw, faith. Joanne Rooms, delayed rewards. Werner Gernert, generosity of spirit. Diane Saffitz, flowers. Tom and Patricia Pocock, finding sanctuary in the forest. Judy Kaplan, back to nature with the birds. Annie says, listen. Thank you, everyone, for your thoughts and creativity. Oh, Joan adds, lots of emotions spilling out this week as the 1-year marker of COVID. Yes, indeed. Here's a beautiful version of hymn 295, Sing Out Praises for the Journey by Jess Hudeman.
Sing out praises for the journey, pilgrims we who carry on, searchers in the soul's deep yearnings, like our forebears in their time. We seek out the Spirit's wholeness in the endless human quest. Look inside your souls, the kindling of the heart fire. Stand we now upon the threshold, facing futures yet unknown. Hearth behind us, wayside hostel, built by those who knew wild roads. Guard we ere their sacred embers, carried in our minds and hearts.
Hello, everybody. As Ruth said earlier in the service, my name is Emily Bro. I am a UU minister who works at the women's prison here in Oregon. I've been there for almost 17 years now. And before that, I was in Minnesota Department of Corrections for about 3 years. And I'm delighted to be with you all this morning, although I really missed the ferry ride across the water. Last time I went in, I came right at sunset, so I had the beautiful view of the orange light and the water and the shining and the beauty, and it was delightful. And of course, I got to hang out with your marvelous minister, Emily Melcher, as well, and that's always just a plus on any day. So I wanted to talk this morning about I'm sure y'all have heard the phrase, are you spiritual or are you religious? Are you spiritual or are you religious? And I'm usually a bit confused by this dichotomy. And I think it's mostly because spirituality, being a spiritual person, I see that as like it's an individual experience of being connected, of feeling like you're part of something bigger, usually associated with some kind of an inner peace or inner acceptance or some, internal experience of something big. Occasionally I have that experience, like maybe when I'm driving in the car and the sun's at the right level and the right song comes on my stereo, and it's like, oh, this is how the world is amazing and I'm glad to be alive. But it doesn't happen very often. And I see religion as this corporate, organized, communal culture of ritual, of tradition, of song, of it's external. Spirituality is internal. The religion is external, and it's the things that you do and the places you go and the history and of your tradition and all that stuff. And I'm not a very spiritual person because it feels like there's some part inside of me that's broken. And connecting with others and connecting with anything just doesn't come natural to me. And the good part of this is that it gives me a certain edge on connecting with other people who don't connect well. So that's a bonus. But I don't often feel like this is my place in the world and this is peace, and this is like, it just doesn't come to me. And this brokenness extends into my experiences of the holy, and it takes a toll. It takes a toll, and working in a prison doesn't make it any easier. Prison is I remember the first time I went to an orientation about working in prison, and then my partner and I went on vacation to a little cabin on a lake in northern Minnesota, and everywhere we looked, it was like, oh, see that rake leaning against the shed over there? That could be a weapon. Oh, you see that anchor that's not hooked to the boat at all? Like, that could totally be a weapon. Oh, you see that paddle over there? That could be, like, everything became a weapon, because I just got out of 2 weeks of training about how you always got to be on the lookout for weapons. And when I was going through the process of becoming a UU minister, I had to fill out all this paperwork, and one of the pieces of paperwork was about self-care, and you had to put like classes you took or workshops you took or books you read. You know, you had to put all this stuff down, and I remember writing on mine. I wrote workshop: how to survive a hostage situation, because I thought that was a pretty good self-care when you work in a prison. And I don't know. It's like I I often find myself uncomfortable in crowds, um, always aware of who's around and what they're up to. Um, and when I'm not really careful, I have a hard time making small talk, like with grocery store people, or just people you run into, because there's this always this voice in my head, from my work, that says, are they trying to con me? Why are they talking to me? Why are they being nice to me? What's their hidden agenda? And I go into this work with, the ideals of helping and caring, and helping people become who they're meant to be physically and emotionally, and the reality is that the harm and the hurt in the bodies and the spirits of broken people can be overwhelming. It can be overwhelming. A few weeks ago, I had actually I had two people in my office, different times, but they might as well have been the same person. They were both new. They'd been in there for maybe about a week, and like, for example, what the one of them, she sat in my chair, and she was just distraught. She lost her business, she lost her family, she lost her relationships, she lost her home. She shouldn't be in prison. Someone lied on her. She's surrounded by people she doesn't like. She lost her way of life. She doesn't like her cellmate. She doesn't like the officer on her unit. This is a horrible life. This is a horrible prison. People here treat her like crap. And if only the lieutenant would do this, her life would be better. And if only the officer would do this, her life would be better. And she prayed to God when she was in jail. She prayed with her whole heart that she wouldn't be there. And if God really listened, she wouldn't be in prison. If God really listened, she'd have a better roommate. If God really listened, her life would be different and people wouldn't lie. But God doesn't listen. She's basically having a hard time dealing with the realities of her life and the realities of her situation, and God just doesn't listen. So me, chaplain, I say, well, here's the thing though. God doesn't change the things out here. God changes the things in here. The officers aren't going to change. Your cellmate's not going to change. The people aren't going to change. And if you're going to wait to be happy and content until all that stuff changes, you're going to do hard time. But if you're willing to look inside and find that comfort and contentment and peace inside, that connection, then you'll be a step ahead of the rest of us. Which sounds like great advice, right? Except I forgot about that broken piece. I mean, what if your insides and your connections and your spirit, what if that's just broken? What if you don't have any peace and contentment stored up inside you? What if every time you put it in, it leaks out? What if you've got nothing there? I get distracted by the stuff on the outside all the time, by the grief, by the power dynamics, by the despair, by the negativity, by the cynicism, by the emotional and spiritual violence of prison and physical violence of prison. I'm convinced that if I worked in a monastery, I would be a much more spiritual and happy person. But the reality is that prison doesn't change. The system is large and slow and cumbersome and stupid, and it's not going to change. Maybe sometime in the future, maybe, I see little glimpses of it here and there. Change is coming, but change has been coming for, I'm losing my patience, right? I know it's not going to change today, and I know that tomorrow is going to be a lot like today. And I have got to figure out how to look in here so that I can survive, so that I can live with peace and hope and love in such a dark, dark place. I have to ground myself in something bigger, in something more life-giving. But I'm not that spiritual. My insides are broken. I don't have these inner reserves of unity and connectment and peace and assurance and trust and love. They always leak out and they get corrupted by this darkness that just surrounds me. And I turn in and nothing's there. And this is where religion comes in for me. I am a religious person. I need the rituals and the songs and the stories and the history and the language and the tradition and the organization, and I need to grab onto it and hold onto it and soak it in and absorb it into my soul, into my gut, so that when I do turn to my insides, I've got something there. And the paradox is that it's not something that really came from me. It's something that came from outside of me. It's a part of my faith. It's a part of my community that I have swept up in my arms of despair and stuffed deeply into my bones, so that I can be connected to something else beyond just me. I pray, keep my heart open. Remind me every day that love is real. I sing, Spirit of Life, come into me, please, please, please. I need you. I need you every day. There's more love somewhere. You know that hymn? There's more love somewhere. I'm going to keep on till I find it. There's more love. I sing that hymn. Come sing a song with me. No, that's not come sing a song with me. Come sing. That's another hymn. It's like, because you know what I like about that hymn? It says, come sing a song with me so I might know your mind. It doesn't say, so I might change your mind, or so I might fix your mind, or so I might heal your mind. It says, so I might know your mind. And through that knowing, I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the wintertime. It doesn't say I'll bring you answers. It doesn't say I'll fix everything for you. It says I'll know you, I'll hear you, I'll know your story, and I'll remind you that you're not alone. That's my religion. And when I come to church, I light candles. I light candles of prayer. I light candles of remembrance that the light is always available, and that these people who are here are my people. And I have the opportunity to let my guard down and to trust and to experience and to remind me that prison is not the norm, and that despair need not overwhelm me, and that there is beauty and goodness in this world. And I need to take all that stuff and absorb it and bring it into me. So I take it everywhere I go. And when I go to prison, I'm taking y'all with me. I mean, that's just how it works. I'm not in there by myself. I'm there with a whole host of support and encouragement and prayer that I get from you. Y'all are like little angels. They come to work with me every day and remind me that this is worth it. And this is what we do. When my spirit is lost and I'm struggling against the realities of my life, I reach for my prayers. I reach for my songs. I reach for my ritual, for my tradition, for my history, for my people. And I grab it and I sink it down, 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 down into my heart, my gut. And not everybody does. Really, not everybody does. Some people find that connection through art or through music or through nature. And that's okay. That's all right. That's good. And some people say, religion is a crutch. But if you have a broken leg, it makes a lot of sense to use a crutch. It just does. And I know that so many of us have histories of a religion that has hurt us and scarred us and abused us, but that's not my religion anymore. My religion is one of healing and hope and persistence and stubbornness and comfort and grace and love. And I claim it boldly because that's what helps me live. That's what keeps me alive and keeps me from drowning in the negativity and the despair of life. Religion is not about believing 6 impossible things before breakfast. Religion is about experiencing the holy, experiencing the connection. It's about an opening of your heart and your soul, which fills our lives with love and guides us in a way of promise, in a way of redemption. It's about mining light, mining joy and hope, remembering in our ideals, remembering that what we do is important, and remembering that there is more love somewhere and that we can do this thing. We can do this thing. My days are filled with power and control and brokenness, but I am filled with hope and light and love that I don't always understand. Sometimes it doesn't even make sense to me in light of all that I have seen and known and experienced, because life is hard and scary and overwhelming. And I pray that you can reach for a song or a prayer or a poem or a ritual or a person when your life gets hard and scary and overwhelming. And you can pull that song or prayer or poem or person close to your heart, that you can fill your insides with a hope and a life and attention that's way bigger than you. And I hope that religion, your religion, whatever it might be, does that for you. And that is my prayer. Amen.
Thank you, Emily. Would you like to do our benediction and I'll extinguish the chalice here.
Of course. I'm going to combine the extinguishing of the chalice and the benediction. Because as we extinguish this chalice, as we extinguish this flame, we also know that it is always available to us. That it is a part of our hearts and our minds, and we carry it with us everywhere we go. And I pray that you leave this place today a little brighter than you were when you came in. And that this flame reminds you in the weeks ahead that we will be reunited. And we will rekindle our flames together again. Amen. And may it be so.
Thank you so much, Emily. As we each find our way on our journey, a child running away, a veteran struggling with re-entry, a banjo player looking at life's realities and seeking a way towards spirituality and mending brokenness. Take heart from today's postlude, a centuries-old protest song reminding us that, at the very least, our thoughts are free. De Gedanken sind frei, my thoughts are free, was the rallying cry and protest song of the German peasant wars. Class uprisings which predated the French Revolution by 2 centuries. The song reappeared in the 1960s. It was popularized by Pete Seeger. In Elizabeth Alexander's version of this timeless demand for free thought, she gives it what she describes as a feisty new English singing translation and an arrangement full of wit, color, surprises, and some healthy defiance.
Die Gedanken sind frei, I proudly profess them. As hard as you try, you cannot suppress them.
No fence can confine them, no creed undermine them. They ring from on high. Die Gedanken sind frei.
They ring from on high. Die Gedanken sind frei.
They laugh like a child and sing and make merry. They bloom ever wild like flowers on a prairie. They wind and they wander. They pensively ponder. They soar to the sky. Die Gedanken sind frei. They soar to the sky. They soar to the sky. Die Gedanken sind frei.
Try to bind my thoughts in a prison.
The next day you'll find that they have arisen. A brainstorm will thunder and burst chains asunder.
And off they will fly.
Die Gedanken sind frei. And off they will fly. Die Gedanken sind frei. Liable to change as I become older. So don't think it's strange if they become bolder. They won't remain static, packed up in some attic. To that I'll say, fire! Though you may despise them, I shall not disguise them.
You can't codify them, and I won't deny them.
Go on and deride them, I'm not going to hide them.
Assail me or jail me, my thoughts shall not fail me.
It's useless to ban them or pan them or can them, so don't even try. Digga-donken sind frei, so don't even try. Digga-donken sind frei.